Hello?
Okay.
Stop
Hello?
recording? Yeah, it seems like we're recording.
Yes.
Avoid legal snags by telling people they're being recorded. You are being recorded.
Yes. The light is
Oh,
on.
the light is on. Let's go. All right. So, uh, well, as you can see, hello everyone. I'm solo today, but I'm not solo because we have our guest co-host, uh, Spike Greene,
Yes.
aka George, aka the Film Geek Collective, and I'm Hamish, and this is Pop and Fizz, yay! And our first video and stream, first video and audio episode.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Like, lots of podcasts do that. Even like Kevin Smith does that, you know?
even Kevin Smith does it. So there you go. So we're not reinventing the wheel, we're just catching up.
The master plan, we will dominate the world with the podcast.
That's right. That's right. And we should have started this way from the beginning because, I remember that because every time we've done a podcast, as you know, we
Mhm.
try and do a video chat beforehand,
Yes. Yes.
which is basically it's for Beck because she wants to be able to know know the face that she's talking to while we're doing like our radio interview. Um, so anyway, so hopefully this will work. So today we are as I just mentioned to you prior to recording, um,
Mhm.
we're talking about a certain director, an Australian director. You're Australian, I'm Australian. We're going to have a all Aussie adventure
Yes. I'm sorry,
today.
I can't stop smiling. I just have so much fun recording these.
Woohoo! Nice. So, we're here to we're focusing on two films, but we're gonna talk about the filmography of Stefan Elliott.
And yeah,
The
Hamish is really big into Stephen Elliott.
uh, sure. Probably probably not as much now as I was like 10, 15, 20 years ago. But the way some people geek out over
Steven
Tarantino
Spielberg,
or Scott
Tarantino.
Steven, yeah, all of those people, I will geek out over this guy. And I have geeked out over him because I did, well, I did have a fan site, and the fan site was not well, because I don't know, I just kept like when the internet was young, and I was just so curious. Like I became a huge fan of his after Welcome to Whoop Whoop, and I just kept researching, like what's he doing next? What's he doing next? And I ended up with so much information in my brain. I was like, what am I gonna do with all this information? This CRAP in my head. Like, what am I gonna do with this? So I
You,
eventually I spewed it all out into this website, and for a number of years, like I think I was the only one looking at it. And then it got on Dark Horizons, Garth Franklin's film blog,
mhm.
and from that point, it started getting up and creating a life of its own. And then at the height of its popularity, I killed it.
You murderer.
I know. Well, because I had a full time job. I was living in Japan. I was like, and I kept getting all these messages from people all over the world because even though I thought it was pretty plain and clear in the heading, the unofficial Stefan Elliott fan site, like it has unofficial and it has fan in the title, people kept thinking I was him. So I kept getting people trying to send me their scripts. I was like, or they were asking me questions, and I was like, I'm not Stephen Elliott. And like I mean, I know he's like a kind of enfant terrible kind of guy, and like maybe it makes sense to have a unofficial fan site more so than an official fan site. But anyway, so I killed it, and um, but I had a great time, and now here we are talking about movies. So I think an interesting thing about you and I is that we're of two completely different generations, and perhaps rather than me going on and on and on about this guy, can I ask you? I guess in a sense, talking about his legacy, like what do you know about Stephen Elliott?
Well, I know that he did Priscilla, Welcome to Whoop Whoop. He also did this, I don't know, was it a thriller about a stalker? I forget what it was called.
Eye of the Beholder,
Yeah,
yeah.
that. But I've only seen Priscilla and Welcome to Whoop Whoop. I found out before the call that he did a few Best Men, which vaguely seemed familiar from the Video Easy adverts. Video
Yeah,
Easy. I don't know if that's still around.
I don't know,
Video
but
rental stores.
um, that's probably, at least in Australia, I think that's been one of his biggest. Like that was like his big comeback hit,
Mhm.
basically. Like it
I
made almost the same amount of money as Priscilla did
Wow.
at
Wow.
the Australian box office. I don't think it like lit the world on fire the way Priscilla did, but and to be honest, after watching a few Best Men, that's when like I went from being a huge fan to being a fan.
Oh.
I didn't like the movie.
Ah.
Like, it was
Yeah.
okay. There's nothing wrong with it. It was just like, huh, all right, that
It's
was a
like
movie.
it's like I like Spielberg, but I really
Right.
I really don't care for Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Sure. Sure. That's right. That's right.
And
It's
then
like,
I've been meaning to give Oliver Stone another chance. I keep mentioning this, I know, but I didn't like Natural Born Killers. But then someone's recommending JFK to me and saying it's really good.
yeah, I mean I probably should give that another chance as well, but um I have watched Natural Born Killers, which made me feel physically ill and dirty, basically.
I can see
Like you can see that. Like there's two films that have made me feel that is Basic Instinct and Natural Born Killers.
that. Yeah,
Like
Basic Instinct. That's the one I saw. I didn't mind that so much in terms of quality. I mean, it's not as good as Paul Verhoeven's other stuff, though.
no, Showgirls. I love Showgirls, but that
I mean,
anyway, this is not
so
about Showgirls.
I'm typically not really sensitive to violence unless it's toward animals. That's just me
Yeah,
personally.
that's well. I mean, I think that's for that goes the same for everyone. Um, which, interestingly enough, we will talk about that with Welcome to Whoop Whoop.
Oh yes, yes, it did have a little bit of that sort of thing, but it was in a way that I didn't mind it so much. Meh.
Mm. So, um,
And then there's
but
a random dead kangaroo in Priscilla.
there is, and like, um, I forget which DVD commentary it was, but I think, or maybe it was like something that I read of some dissertation, but someone was basically saying that Welcome to Whoop Whoop is sort of like, um, you see like a tiny bit of Welcome to Whoop Whoop in Priscilla in that moment with a dead kangaroo in the back of the truck, and
Yeah.
like these two ochre Australians going, "Rrrr." And it's sort of like, oh, maybe they've come from Whoop Whoop, and like it's like a whole universe.
What about the Stephen Elliott cinematic universe? They could totally be
It
set in the
could
same universe.
it could be totally set in the same universe. I would not doubt that they were set in the same universe. Um, so yeah, but anyway, so yeah, as you say, so Priscilla. is this huge like phenomena where it was like a hit movie, a hit soundtrack. There was like two soundtracks.
Wow,
Um,
like Dazed and Confused had.
that's right. That's right. So like more music from Priscilla, because I remember buying the soundtrack and I was like, "Where's all the other things?" And then they had another soundtrack, and it was kind of like, and I remember there was a review saying like, "Well, you could either buy the second soundtrack, or just wait for it to come out on video," which I did. So it was a hit video, hit DVD, and now it's like a Broadway musical.
Oh wow. I was gonna
So
say, yeah, I've got the Blu-ray now. I bought it ages ago, but basically it was my first shop since coronavirus, long while back now. But
nice.
basically what was happening was I first saw it on VHS where it was all pan.
Mm.
They thought the most important, yeah, that. But I got to see it in widescreen, and there are some times where you can see they're sort of stretched across the widescreen and stuff, and it's just, it's just better with that.
I think so. I mean,
Yeah,
like,
it's a proper movie.
because that's kind of like the interesting thing again, about our age differences. Because like I was 14 when, and now I'm revealing my age. I'm 40. I was 14 years old in 1994, and I watched this at the cinema. And yeah, it like, to me this is like the widest screen film I've probably ever seen. Like, I mean, there's like the sort of the joke in the movie, filmed in Dragorama instead of like Cinerama. But it really, out of all those sort of Australian road movies, this one really shows you just how wide Australia is. Because, you could be in PD on a road, and like, Australia doesn't even, like, it stretches further than your peripheral vision.
It stretches further than I don't know, Ben Hur, which I still got to see by the way. But why Ben Hur is 276-1 instead of Priscilla's 239-1.
Sure. So in other words, yeah. So I mean, that's how you can try and fit Australia into a movie.
You just can't fit all of Australia at once.
No, no,
You
absolutely not.
mentioned while we're on Stephen Elliott, I think that
Yeah,
him and Jay Hogan are directors that we don't really hear about anymore, but they do good stuff. Like, it was funny for Mental, which I
yeah.
got to actually see Mental, but however, the roles, the auditions at the time were and 2012, I was about 10, and I was thinking, well, I could still pass for a girl.
Why
And
not?
then I didn't decide to audition after all because, the part was for a girl.
Sure, but then they might have admired your gumption, and they're like, this kid, this is the right one for the role. You could have been the next Nikki Webster.
Huh?
So, Nikki Webster from the Olympics, right?
You kind of lost me there.
I lost you. See, this is a generation gap. So I think you were born after the 2000 Olympics. So there's this girl. She was like 10 years old, and she was like, she sang this song. She was a major part of the opening ceremony of the Sydney Olympics, and then she had like a big hit single after that, and then that was it. But her first foray into the world of cinema is, if you remember, when Ralph gets, like, is it Ralph? I think it is. So in Priscilla, there's this thing where, Bernadette, as when he was a boy, he's got his doll,
Mhm.
and the sister who's getting the truck, that is Nikki Webster. And
Uh-huh.
anyway, so for the people out there who know, like, oh wow, it's Nikki Webster. But anyway, poor Nikki Webster. That you're a testimony to her career not lasting beyond
I mean,
2002.
I mean, look, I know Down Among the Dead Man, but I don't know Nikki Webster.
Oh, gosh. Oh dear. I
I
don't know.
can't because this is partially going to be on because this thing's going to be on YouTube as well as podcast, so I can't think of
Yes, yes.
reasons.
So yeah, so we're not gonna play part of it. But anyway, so look it up. So Strawberry Kisses was her like top two single, and please forgive me because it is very catchy,
Hmm.
even though it's not a good song, but it is very catchy. Um, but anyway, so I guess we should go back to the beginning.
Yeah.
So
Copyrighted too. Oh,
no, 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 no. Don't
apologies
worry about the
to
copyright.
RNA.
I just mean go back to the beginning, as in let's talk like what is Priscilla?
All right, Priscilla. Okay, now Priscilla is this movie that's all about a road trip with three drag queens, and they go across the Broken Hill, and that made me think, well, why don't I? If it wasn't so bloody expensive, why don't I dress up as a drag queen and go to Broken Hill just to celebrate
Woohoo!
the movie?
Nice, nice. Well, I mean, hopefully, you know what I would love to do, because in the movie, when they're in Broken Hill, they go to a pub
Mhm.
which is like wall to wall painted in that sort of deliciously awful, country Australia painting style, right? And that's a real pub.
Oh wow.
And like the guy who's welcoming them into the pub slash hotel, he was the real owner. And apparently, an interesting little tidbit is that there is a toilet in the middle of the restaurant, a working toilet in the middle of that
And has
of the
anyone
restaurant of the hotel,
like literally in the middle of the restaurant, like not even
literally in the middle of the restaurant. Now, I don't know if it's like an indoor outhouse. I mean, I'm hoping there is some sort of, but apparently, like, while guests will be like having their lunch or having their breakfast, the owner would used to like walk through the restaurant and do his business. Like, this is not a location. This is a like not a like this is not a set. This is like a genuine, quirky place that you can visit.
Yes, the world's most underrated toilet.
That's right. That's right. You too can go to the bathroom in the middle of a restaurant while
I wonder.
everyone else is eating.
One thing I've wondered is, that toilet at the start of Train Spotting that's called the world's filthiest toilet in Scotland or something.
Oh no, yes.
I wonder where that is.
That must be somewhere. Now
Because I was thinking,
that's probably a
the
question for
poo,
Chris
they actually
Watt.
use chocolate.
But yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, maybe you dive into the Priscilla toilet and you come out on the other side in the transpotting world. And is it Glasgow or Edinburgh that film is set
I
in?
can't remember. I've seen Train Spotting a number of times and I can't remember.
Anyway, somewhere in Scotland. Please tell us, oh listeners, oh watchers.
Yeah,
Um,
anyone who listens to us who's in Scotland.
Woohoo! So, do you know who the original cast was supposed to be
For Priscilla? No, I
for
didn't.
Priscilla? So, Guy Pearce, like all of the, except for maybe, so Terence Stamp was in Superman, um, and Hugo Weaving was in a bunch of Australian things. Like he was known in Australia, but he wasn't really known anywhere else. And
Uh-huh.
then Guy Pearce was known for Neighbours at the point when the film got made. Now, of course, they've all become these, huge megastars because of the movie. like with The Matrix and
Memento.
Memento, The Limey, like they've all and Star Wars. I mean, they've all done big things, right?
Mhm.
But anyway, the first choice Stephen Elliott had for the cast was John Cleese in the Bernadette role.
Mhm.
Um, Now, do you know Rupert Everett?
I know the name.
So he's the gay guy from My Best Friend's Wedding.
Oh,
Speaking of PJ Hogan,
yeah, I was gonna say I don't think I got to see that whole movie,
it's a
but
good
I did see
movie.
Girl's Wedding, and that counts.
You're terrible, Muriel.
Yes, Muriel, you're terrible.
I'd rather drink razor blades than spend any more time with you.
And then you'd sound like the Australian version of someone from The Exorcist.
That's right. Uh,
I
so
really, I really
anyway,
have
so
considered, I really have considered taking up a career in voice acting.
you should. You do great voices. Um, and so I don't know if you know Jason Donovan, but he was like the big star. He was dating Kylie Minogue, and he also had like a singing career, and like he was the blonde boy wonder on Neighbours.
Mhm.
So that was the cast of three, and Rupert Everett is famously cutting.
Mhm.
Like I mean, like I'm reading his autobiography at the moment. He's vicious, and apparently he's made some nasty comment to Jason Donovan. Jason Donovan stormed out, was like, "I'm not doing this movie," and then like the whole cast eventually left, and so then it got recast in to I guess who were supposed to get the roles. But anyway, so just a little trivia aside. Um, so now you also, thanks to me forcing you to watch it.
No, no, no. I mean, I saw it was on Stan. And I'm like some Australian film I didn't know anything about, and then you suggested,
Yeah,
and I was like, hey, Hamish recommends it.
that's right. I mean, it's probably one of my favorite movies. Like like when I watched Rocky Horror Picture Show, I had no. Do you love it?
Oh yeah.
You love it? See, I don't know. It didn't touch me. I don't know. I feel like I have to watch it with an audience of people. Like I watched it on VHS alone by myself, and I was
Well,
like, "What? Why do people love this so much?"
first of all, let me just clarify about the VHS. The film on my Blu-rays done in 166 to 1, which is probably about
Yeah.
this. Well, I'm roughly approximating, not that wide, but about this wide. Not really,
Hmm.
not 4:3 or anything. But the VHS actually would have probably opened it up to 4:3, and
Mm.
you would have gotten a little bit extra information top and bottom. In that case, in some cases, you're not missing anything with VHS, but with the wider films, you are because they have to pan.
That's true. That's true. But I don't know. I feel like Rocky
And
Horror. You
people
need
like
that.
horror
Mm,
not for the
yeah.
story, but for the experience, for the fun of it, for the songs, for the, you know,
Exactly. And like I haven't watched, so in some ways you could argue I have not watched Rocky Horror yet because I haven't gone to the midnight screening at uh it's not Village Roadshow anymore. What is it called? Like the not Hoyt's Event Cinema now?
I'm not sure, but I know it plays at the Ritz sometimes in Randwick.
There you go.
Think
So
possibly I can't remember if that was it or not.
but that whatever it is, like the place where everyone gets dressed up and they go and they have a great night. I want to do that. Um, but like I've heard a lot of people say like from the generation above me who are like they watch that movie and it changed their life and they're like wow, like there are other people out there like me. Um, And I didn't really quite have that experience with it. But with Whoop Whoop, when I watched that, I remember thinking like, this movie has been made for me because I just loved it so much. Like I I wasn't a fan of Stephen Elliott after Priscilla. Like I loved Priscilla, but I loved Priscilla. I didn't really care who made it. Um, and then when Whoop Whoop came out, and I heard like, oh, from the director of Priscilla, and I was like, oh, this sounds good. So I watched it, and then I was like, oh my goodness, I have to watch everything this guy's ever made. And so that's when I went back to Civic Video and I found a film, his first film, Frauds,
Mhm.
which stars Phil Collins, which you might know him as the guy who wrote the music for Tarzan.
Dun, 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 dun.
That's right,
And you have
in
to
the
wait
air.
it's into the song.
So
Good
there
song.
you go. But anyway, so it's got Hugo Weaving, which is how he ended up getting the role for Priscilla. Hugo Weaving and I forget who else. But anyway, Hugo Weaving and Phil Collins is in it, and it is weird. Like you know, like it sort of has this roll of the dice at the beginning of the movie, and then when I first watched Being John Malkovich,
Excellent movie.
well, if you like that, you might like Frauds as well. But like Frauds really messed with my mind. It was like, oh, this is a really twisted movie. Like I don't think Stephen Elliott has ever made a movie since Frauds that is quite as twisted as Frauds.
So did he do Frauds before Priscilla?
He did. But funnily enough, um, when I read the review for Frauds, the reviewer said, because like Priscilla had just debuted at Cannes, and the reviewer basically said like this film is by the director of Priscilla. It
Mm-hmm.
was his first film, and he was being talked about as the director of his next film. Like basically like so like even before Priscilla came out, it was like it was like the sun was coming. Like you could see the dawn coming. Like the film's not there yet, but like the film, like it just had this I don't know what you would say, like it just had this momentum, it had this like this presence of like something big is coming. And like because it was at a time, like as you said, so um uh what's it called, Muriel's Wedding was coming, Priscilla came,
Mm-hmm.
and what was the other movie? I think Spider and Rose, and just before Baz Luhrmann came out with
Strictly Ballroom.
yes, yes.
And
So
God,
like
there's another one that was late 90s. The Dish in 2000. I think it was 2000 or
yes,
something.
right. So the castle, yeah, that's kind of like yeah. So like we can
Oh,
sort of
Bad Boy Bubby, which is a very movie.
very very dark movie, but that came out at the same time. And Rolf de Heer, like he never went
Early 90s.
international really, did he? Tempted maybe. Like, I think he tried. I think he tried. Like, I mean, speaking of Stephen Elliott with Eye of the Beholder, it's kind of interesting that a lot of these guys, when they made their first American movie, they made an erotic thriller. So
Yeah.
like Ralph de Heer did Tempted with um what's his name, Reynolds.
So, so let me get this straight. You've seen Bad Boy Bubby and you didn't mind that, but Basic Instinct
I
straight up.
haven't seen Bad Boy Bubby actually. I know it's like I know it's twisted though. I
Hmm.
know the
There
story
are
of it.
Very. Like there should be plenty of trigger warnings with that movie. Definitely.
Sure. And then his later movie, what was it called? Alexandra's Project, which was pretty twisted as well. Um, but I don't know. I mean, look, there's some really talented directors coming out in the 90s. Um, I don't know. So, I mean, I've just sort of, yeah, exploded with like how much I love Whoop Whoop. But I know you liked it, but it wasn't necessarily your favorite movie. Like, what did you think of Whoop Whoop? And I don't know, what was this? I don't
Well,
know.
Whoop Whoop was a very offbeat comedy. I like that sort of thing, and I
Mm,
was laughing at the quite dark humor in it. It was. I'm not sure I should get into spoilers just in case anyone wants to see it.
sure. I mean, I'd love people to go and watch it, but I mean, like, I mean, you sort of notice, like, again, it's sort of one of those
It's quite dry sometimes.
typical, yeah. I was just gonna say, like, it is one of those, like, do you remember Yahoo Serious
Um.
with young Einstein?
Oh, I've heard of Young Einstein, only because sometimes I go on the YouTube and watch various VHS openings to see the old pre.
So Young Einstein was shot in my hometown, and Yahoo Serious is like a hometown hero in Newcastle. That was a big hit, and then his next film was called Reckless Kelly, where he played like a modern Kelly gang, with like a sort of like this leather jacket, and basically it was sort of him going to America, and and then like Whoop Whoop has kind of got the same kind of vibe in that, like, so the American, you've got the American actor coming to Australia, and
I was going to
it,
say, welcome to Whoop Whoop reminded me a
mm.
little bit of a gender reverse Crocodile Dundee in a way, because Americans come to Australia, except, the Australian is the shifty one in Crocodile Dundee.
That's true. That's true. It's a country reversed and gender reversed. It is. I haven't really thought about it that way. I've heard of it spoken of as a kind of Mad Max 2,
Oh.
where, like, you've kind of got like the cult and all of these like bizarre characters. Um, but yeah, I mean, I guess, like, to give a little bit of the story, it is this kind of American hustler who sells cockatoos in New York. Um,
And
and
actually, they all have Trump's haircut.
that's right. That's right. And his exotic dancer girlfriend, played by Rachel Griffiths, who has one of my favorite lines in the movie, where one of these henchmen is saying, like, what is your girlfriend, a stripper? And then she said, and then Jonathan says, like, she's an exotic dancer. And then she says, I am classically trained. That is my favorite line in the movie, and I don't know why, but I just love it.
I just like it's still a bit of a twisted film at its heart. Definitely not quite as twisted as Bad Boy Bubby. That's on a like level 10. This is like I don't know, level
Sure,
6.
it is a bit of a six, like, but I don't know. Do you
Like
think?
there's one major thread where
Yeah.
this woman is sort of kidnaps the main character as her husband.
Do you love me? Do you love me?
I mean, look, if that was like it's really a double standard. If that was I don't think it would have gone over quite as well if it were gender reversed, because
No,
yeah,
no, 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 no. No,
I
that wouldn't
mean
have
the
gone well at
situations are just
all.
as bad in either way. You know.
Right. Yeah, but I think because it's a guy, you kind of like, well, what is it like? I don't know. Like, I want to quote lines from the movie, but it's so
Yes.
I don't know if I can really quote this line. But basically, the girl says, Susie Porter, also from Newcastle, basically says to him like, we've done it a few times. You know, you can't. Basically, she tells him like, you can't say you can't marry me because we've slept together, basically.
Mm.
Which is was quite a scary thought, like when you say it normally. But the way it's said in the movie just makes it really funny. I don't know. I find Susie Porter's character so likable, even though she does kidnap him, and drag him to this town in the middle of nowhere. Um, so an interesting thing. So I have read since then a book called Fafangula, which basically says that the movie is supposed to be an allegory for Australia. So
Mm.
like Woop Woop, the town in the middle of nowhere, is supposed to be Australia itself.
Mhm.
Like the fact that all these people from England were like, nope, we don't want you, get out of here. And then they came to Australia and they're like, no, we actually like it here, we want to stay. Like there is sort of that thread running through it. um and of course, Daddy O, played by the Time Machine, Mr. Hollywood, Mr. The Birds. We
Oh, Rod
talked about the
Taylor. It was
birds.
Rod Taylor. Yeah, I was looking for him. Yeah,
That's Rod
I couldn't
Taylor.
remember that.
Apparently, you know, he was living in an apartment in America, and Stephen Elliott tracked him down and knocked on the guy's door and was like, do you still have your Australian accent? And the guy was like, no worries, mate.
Mm.
And Stephen Elliott basically brought him back from the dead.
I
And
forget which role he was in, but he was also in Quentin Tarantino's Inglorious Bastards.
yes, he played Winston Churchill, I think. Um, I I watched Inglorious Bastards just so I could see Rob Taylor, actually, and once that I actually gave up on that film once.
Was it because of the scalping?
No, I just didn't think it was all that good.
I mean, I sort of thought the start was, without saying too much for those who still want to see it, the start was good, but overall, I wasn't expecting that amount of talking, even though it's Tarantino and he loves
Mm,
talking. And in fact, I should probably watch it again because I
maybe. I mean,
like it
I
more.
had the same feeling. Like, I just thought it was a whole lot of blah blah blah. Whereas, you know, Pulp Fiction, like actually, Beck, who's she's at home editing at the moment.
Mm.
So she and I had a chat the other yesterday, actually, as of recording yesterday, not as of you know 12 days to Christmas, and and this is a Christmas episode because there is a Christmas song, a Christmas carol in Whoop Whoop.
Yes. And lots of
They
Rogers and Hammerstein.
That's right. That's right. And Rogers and Hammerstein, Stephen Elliott wanted for Priscilla, but they wouldn't give him the rights. So Whoop Whoop is basically him at 27 years old going, you know what? I've just made $100 million. Like, whatever he wanted, he got.
Oh yeah, like not all flops are bad. I mean, there's that movie which is a guilty pleasure for me, admittedly. There's also Brazil, The Iron Giant, It's a Wonderful Life, The Wizard of Oz. They all flopped, and they're quite.
Exactly. And in some ways, Whoop Whoop wasn't given much of a chance
Mm.
because So again, a little bit of trivia. When Woop Woop was released in 1997, um, in their infinite wisdom, Screen Australia decided that it would create buzz if they released 5 Australian films on the same weekend. They've never done it again because it basically, it really destroyed any chance. It just became this sort of dog eat dog thing. So I don't know if you know the film, but Head On was the winner.
Mhm.
That was the film that basically became the hit out of that dog eat dog fight. The next one was Amy, which also starred Susie Porter and Rachel Griffiths. And then Whoop Whoop was the third one. It made about $500,000. And I forgot what the last 2 films were,
Mhm.
which I think tells you something like, you know, let let these movies have their moment. And
I would, yeah,
because
I would say so. Yeah.
because it flopped in Australia, then what was planned to be this huge global rollout just got destroyed.
Mm.
So I don't know. Like I still feel like Welcome to Whoop Whoop would find an audience if someone just put it on after Rocky Horror on the midnight circuit. Like there is an audience for this movie. Like I've even talked to, now I'm going to ruin his name, but Jonathan Steech. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but
Yeah.
anyway, that guy, the really handsome lead of Welcome to Whoop Whoop. Like, if you talk about Welcome to Whoop Whoop with him on Twitter, he will respond because he has said that for his father, Whoop Whoop and another film called Finding Graceland are his father's 2 favorite films of his.
Oh.
And both of them are road movies. Although Finding Graceland, you've got him in this beautiful car driving around the American um, outback, I guess, and he has an Elvis impersonator or someone who possibly is Elvis, played by Harvey Keitel, and it's so there you go. It's a good movie.
Thank you very much. You've been a wonderful crowd. Oh, my best Elvis impression.
Nice. It's a good Elvis. I can't do any better. Thank you. Thank you very much. I don't know. Pop the collar.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know. It's more like the Fonz.
Hey, how you
Hey.
I was gonna say I had a
Mm.
feeling we might have mentioned masks earlier or something like that because I was looking on my wall and there's one of Pennywise and one of Joaquin Phoenix's Joker.
Nice. I mean, there we go. I did my little. It's a bit of a crazy looking mask.
I was gonna say though, in order to show them to the camera, one, I'd be afraid of breaching copyright, and two, uh, it would have a break in the recording or whatever. There'd just be an awkward gap of silence for those listening on the podcast.
Oh, that's all right. That's all right. So, well, um, I don't know. So, um, what films of Stephen Elliott's have we not touched on yet? I mean, there's
Let's check IMDb. I've been checking the internet occasionally during this.
yeah,
Not exactly,
there,
but I don't know. What's the
so
word?
there's Swinging Safari. There's which
Rio,
was
I
the
love
most recent one. I bought that recently just to watch his part. His part is the best part of the movie.
a few
It's
best
the
men.
A Few Best
2011,
Men.
Black Oasis, 2008, Easy Virtue.
So
It,
yeah, so Black Oasis unfortunately never got made, but it's up on it's up on IMDb as if it did get made,
Oh.
but I really wish it did. Like, there's like a bunch of, yeah, I mean, like, talking career wise, there's like a bunch of, like, could have been, because like Baz Luhrmann's probably the one who's done the best out of um his, I don't know, graduation class, I guess, like out of that group, the generation of filmmakers. But so after Priscilla, Stephen Elliott was offered Twister,
Oh.
which he ended up turning down, but like was fairly long in the process of, like, he, you know, did a script with it. Um, and then he was also linked to um, the First Wives Club,
Mhm.
but he decided to do Welcome to Whoop Whoop instead. So perhaps if he had done First Wives Club, his career might have gone in a different direction. Although, I mean, maybe it wouldn't have. I mean, like, because PJ Hogan, he did My Best Friend's Wedding. It was a huge hit. Then he did Unconditional Love, which never really got released and got, you
And then there
know,
was
just.
that Peter Pan movie, which I happened to see.
Is it any good?
It was okay.
It was all right.
It's not terrible or anything. I remember
It, it,
liking it when I was a kid.
oh, well, that's good. That's good. Because I remember getting trashed by the critics, so I never actually went out to watch it. But
I mean, it's. I actually think it's a bit better than Pan.
well, there you go. Um,
So Pan had bald Hugh Jackman.
ooh, poor Hugh Jackman. I don't know.
I actually went to see Hugh Jackman in concert before
Did
coronavirus,
you?
and he was actually pretty good. They even had, you know, the lady who plays the bearded lady in Greatest Showman, Carla Settle.
Was she there?
She was there as a guest appearance, and she sung a song that was there for the first time, and I literally was like, "Woo!" And I swear, she looked at me and she said, "Thank you." And there was one. We all got our phones up, and we turned on the torches and used the
Oh,
candles as Hugh was singing something, and it was awesome. Sorry if I blinded any of you watching in the dark there.
that's right. Blinded by the light. Um, I don't know.
I'm not sure
So
what the is to that, wrapped up like a douche or what.
I don't know. Um, but anyway, so I don't know. Like, what do you think of Stephen Elliott? Now that you've seen two of his films when he was
Very
at.
stylistic, different from Baz Luhrmann, which is
Mm,
it's a good thing because Baz Luhrmann has his own good style. Although I admit that I stuck it out for about 20 minutes of Australia when I was younger and found it boring. So, but I like.
I've watched Australia, but I have a different view of Australia just because it costs so much money to make. I just remember thinking, like, they could just chip like a little bit off the top of Australia and like fund something that I want to make.
That is so true. Like, someone called 20th Century Fox and say, hey, you know, oh, they're owned by Disney now. They're going to be holding on to their money.
I'm sure. I mean, poor Disney is basically, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
And now
so
20th Century Studios, which I refuse to acknowledge that name change because I think it's dumb.
it is a bit dumb, isn't it? Because it was originally 20th Century and
20th Century,
Fox,
yeah.
which
20th Century
merged to
Pictures,
20th Century Fox.
Fox Film Corporation, merged 20th Century Fox. And of course, because of the Fox network and their right wing news program, I think Disney wanted to distance themselves from that.
I'm
Yeah,
sure. I'm sure. Um, so I don't know. Like, so you wanted to do some improv. Can I ask can I ask some questions of Mickey Mouse? So Mickey, how do you feel about Disney Plus?
Disney Plus is actually pretty good. It's giving me a lot of revenue. I mean,
Oh, that's
it's got a Minnie Mouse, a nice new car.
oh, that's good to hear. But I hear like the rest of the company's falling apart, Mickey. Like your parks are all closed and the movies can't go out.
Well, Corona has done a lot to our business, and you know, if I didn't have such a family-friendly image, I would I would have put a middle finger into my glove.
Well, I mean, congratulations on The Mandalorian. I hear it's a big hit.
Thank you very much.
So how do you feel about the xenomorph being a Disney princess?
Well, I think Sigourney Weaver's really knocking it out of the park. You know, they should probably bring her back.
Hey, I mean, that would be great. I'd love to see her in one of your movies. What's happening to hand-drawn animation?
Oh, that is true. That's probably why I haven't been in any movies for ages. I don't know. I mean, I was in front of Frozen the last time, but that was a long time ago, and I was partially CGI'd. Woo!
How do you feel about being inside of a computer, Mickey?
I I think I like the feel of a pencil better. You know?
I don't know why I find that so funny. Sorry.
Well, that's okay. To get my fix of hand-drawn animation, I just watched The Simpsons, which we also I can watch anytime I like. I drive Minnie crazy with it, though. Especially the new episode.
Ah, so are we going to see a new Fantasia 3000 someday?
Oh, I broke. Oh, the voice
You broke.
broke.
Oh, that's all right. Don't worry about it.
Well, apart from that boy who just interrupted me, well, Fantasia was a bit of an experiment and it flopped originally. And, you know, lots of segments. Kids get so bored today. Kids, let alone adults, have no patience.
Well, you always had the best segments of that movie.
It was like Disney's 2001: A Space Odyssey before 2001 even existed.
That's right. That's right. So Walt Disney needs to take credit for that. Well, anyway, thank you, Mickey, and uh, thank you for doing the Mickey voice.
Oh boy! Come over to the clubhouse anytime. I wonder who's I wonder who's stuck around at this point, and we've I don't know.
Oh, look, I don't know. Well, hopefully there's lots of people who've stuck around because maybe we can do one of our little radio plays and
I was gonna say I assume for YouTube we'll have to split this into parts, obviously.
I think I've got the ability to upload longer than 15 minutes now.
Last time I read that verified channels are the only ones that get to upload more than 15 minutes.
Really? Also, that's all different. But anyway, so I mean that's.
We'll have to chop it up for the YouTube things, chop it up at the end of a sentence so it doesn't abruptly cut, like that.